Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that has been making real headlines recently. Britain's national debt exceeding 100% of its economic output. This is a significant moment as it's the first time since 1961 that the UK's debt has surpassed its GDP. In August 24, the Office for National Statistics confirmed that the country's debt-to-GDP ratio has hit 100%. And that means Britain now owes more than its entire economy produces in a year. Now, this isn't just a one-off. It's the beginning of a steep rise in debt, according to estimates from the Office for Budget Responsibility. In fact, they predict that British debt could rise to a staggering 274% of GDP by 2074. And let's that sink in for a moment. 274%. That would be a level of debt higher than what we see today in crisis-stricken countries like Argentina or Greece. The UK has faced rising debt before, but this time it's different. In the past, debt peaks were mainly driven by wars like after the Napoleonic Wars or World War II. But today, this surge in debt isn't the result of a war. It's because the government is spending more on public services and welfare than it can collect in taxes. And that's a fundamental shift, and it's one that has far-reaching implications for the future. So let's take a step back in history. After the Napoleonic Wars, Britain's debt reached around 200% of GDP in 1822. But over the next century, they managed to reduce that debt to under 30% by 1913. The state ran a budget surplus for almost 100 years, meaning it earned more than it spent, excluding interest payments. But can that happen again? In today's democracies, that seems unlikely. Voters today are far less willing to accept the kind of austerity measures that would be needed to bring down the debt. And after World War II, Britain also saw a huge debt reduction from 260% of GDP in 1947 to under 25% by 1989. A combination of high economic growth, inflation, and favorable demographics helped bring down the debt. But again, the conditions today are very different. We are in an age of lower economic growth, and demographic changes, especially an aging population, are putting even more pressure on public finances. The Deutsche Bank has warned that Britain could be entering a so-called debt spiral, where the debt grows uncontrollably unless drastic measures are taken. They've pointed out that since the 2008 financial crisis, many large countries have seen their debts spiral out of control. And if interest rates remain higher than economic growth for an extended period, it could lead to a new financial crisis. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, what will the UK government do about it? The current Labour government has made some efforts to cut spending, but these moves have faced opposition. And they've also pledged not to raise a wide range of taxes, which limits their ability to bring in more revenue. And that leaves the government in a difficult position. Balancing the budget while trying to meet the demands of an aging population is going to be a massive challenge. And according to the Office for Budget Responsibility, the UK's debt-to-GDP ratio is almost certain to keep rising. Without some sort of intervention, they predict, as I said, that by 2074, I would be 100 then, the debt could more than double to 274% of GDP. But what could happen next? And there are a few possibilities. One, bondholders, those who lend money to the government, could eventually rebel, demanding higher interest rates or refusing to lend at all. And two is that high inflation could erode the value of the debt, making it easier to pay off in the long run. And three, central banks could step in to monetize the debt, essentially printing more money to pay it off. Or we could see a productivity miracle where technological advances dramatically boost economic output and help bring the debt back under control. But none of these options are guaranteed. And the fact is, Britain is not alone in this struggle. And I told you I will be honest about things I say here. Many democracies around the world are facing similar challenges with rising debt levels. As voters demand more services and less taxation, governments are forced to borrow more to make up the difference. And this debt to GDP ratio could continue to rise for years or even decades. But the question is, how long can it go on? At what point does the debt become unsustainable? And what does that mean for the future of Britain's economy? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The road ahead is going to be difficult, and we are in uncharted territory now, and the decision made in the coming years will shape Britain's financial future for generations to come. So thanks for watching, and if you want to stay informed on this topic, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And let's keep an eye on how these things unfold, because we're just at the beginning of what could be a very steep rise in debt for the UK. And there are some whataboutists out there all the time. If someone wants to what about this time, I will not allow this either, to be honest. But that would be the point where it would really be hard for them. I'm just saying what we call the black zero in a certain country, and that was after 2008, and there was a country, a big Western democracy and industrial nation, that was paying off debt. Nevertheless, we keep the whataboutism out. I just wanted to say that because I always see that and I always delete that. But this whataboutism is just a very, very picky one, obviously, as well, because I'm quite sure that the same people that usually come with their whataboutism wouldn't pick that example today. Nevertheless, if you want to see another video that is just on the topic that it says, it's right here in the end screen.